All right. All right. Hey, what's this? What's this? Oh, hey, there you guys are. Hey, United Students, Pastor Jared here. And today we're in Acts chapter 12. And I want to tell you guys a really cool story about Peter. We're back with Peter today. And Peter's faith leads to a really miraculous thing happening in our story today. And it's going to be a fun one. So buckle up and let's talk about it. But first, I just need to get out of the office and get out into this beautiful sunshine. You guys know the weather's been turning up here in a good way. Spring is on the horizon. But cross your fingers because it could snow and it could get cold because we're in Minnesota. But with that, I want to get outside and just do a little bit of walking around and let's talk about this story. So let's get going. Here we go. Man, with as nice as it is out here, I was hoping to go downtown and find a spot to sit. Nobody's got any tables open. I mean, you can't even sit out and enjoy this beautiful weather. So we'll just keep walking. We'll find some place where we got to go and continue the message. Let's keep moving. Slippery. Today's story is a story about faith. To illustrate this, I want to tell you about a trip that we take every other year with students, and we're going to try to plan it this year, is going to Colorado. We do a trip to Colorado, and it's a week-long trip of whitewater rafting, rock climbing, real rock climbing, and then a 3-day hiking trip up in the mountains. Many times we've summited a peak, done a hike out there. Everything's on your backpack and you take everything out with you for a 3-day trip. It's an amazing trip. It changes every student's life who goes on this trip. And one of the biggest hurdles for students is the rock climbing day. It's a huge, huge thing. We go to this awesome rock called Bob's Rock. And there's 2 things that we do on that day. We rock climb, and we also do what is the most freaky thing of all of it, and that is to rappel. Now, you put on this harness, and harness goes around your legs, and you strap everything on. You put on your helmet, and you have these ropes, and you have these carabiners that are supposed to be able to hold thousands of pounds, they tell you. And they go up to the top of this rock, and you hook it onto the hooks that are up there that are secured into the rock. And you basically, just like I'm on the stairs here, you're going to have that rope coming out, and you're going to lean back on the edge of that rock, and you're going to step over the edge, and you're going to actually fall back. You know, you're falling back like this, and you're leaning over, and you're going to step down the edge of the rock and rappel yourself down. And it is a really weird feeling to get to the edge of the rock. And what you want to do inevitably is you want to be able to get on your stomach and kind of put your legs down and go over. What you don't want to do is naturally lean into the weight of that rope and come back into it and step over the rock. That's just a really foreign deal. And you're looking over at your guide who's standing up there saying, everything's going to be okay. Just lean into that rope and it's going to be all fine and it's going to hold you and everything's going to be great. If you're going to fall, I've got an emergency brake here to stop you. And what you have to do in order to get over that rock is you have to have faith. Faith in a couple of things. Faith in the harness, faith in the rope, and then faith in the guide who's telling you that everything's going to be okay. And every year we have a couple of students who spend the whole day watching everybody do this, and they're nervous, and they walk around, they maybe walk up the side of the rock to get up to the top to get in line, and they go and they look over the edge and they check things out, and they're not ready to go yet. And I've even had several students who will actually hook up and get to the edge of the rock, and they're right there. They're at the spot where they just need to step over the edge and trust everything and enjoy the ride. and their fear and their insecurity about it, their lack of faith in everything ends up pulling them back, and they end up walking back, and they aren't ready to go again. But here's the thing. Every single student who trusts the rope, who trusts the harness, and who trusts the guide, every single one of them who take that step and go over the edge, they have the experience of a lifetime. And they're so grateful for the opportunity. And honestly, most of them, as soon as they get down, they go right back to the top, and they go and they try it again because it's so amazing. All right, so that brings us to our story here in the book of Acts chapter 12. So we come up with a man named Peter. Now, Peter has been sharing the gospel with people, the good news of Jesus. And what ends up happening is he gets arrested for sharing this stuff. He gets put in jail. He gets put in chains. He has several guards that are guarding his prison cell. And what Peter has to do is sit there and stand trial. And he's got some bad things that are coming for him. But God's got something special in store for him. So what God does is he sends an angel, the story tells us. Angel comes at night. Angel wakes up Peter and tells him, hey, Peter, get up. It's time for you to go. And the chains fall off of him. And they go past several guards and they make their way out, and the angel rescues him. And Peter, this whole entire time, has to trust the angel. He has to walk step by step, knowing there's chains on me. Nope, the chains are gone. Hey, there's guards that are waiting outside. There's impossible for us to get by. And nope, he goes by each person one by one. Doors open up. He finds himself out in the street. He finds himself free. It's a complete miracle. Complete steps of faith, trusting God each and every time. So in the story, we've got two characters. We've got God and we've got Peter. Now, with God, this was nothing for him to free Peter from prison. I mean, he wasn't even breaking a sweat, because the Bible tells us that with God, all things are possible. So if you have questions about if God can do it, whatever it is in your life, the answer is absolutely yes. This was nothing for God to break off the chains, to open the prison cell door, to blind or put to sleep the guards as he went by, to open up the doors of the prison itself and to have Peter go inside. That was not a big deal at all for God. But the second person in the story is Peter. Now, you see, God could have opened up those cell doors. He could have knocked off the chains. He could have blinded and put to sleep the guards. He could have opened up the doors of the prison itself. But Peter had to have a thing called faith. Peter had to actually, when those chains came off of his hands, Peter had to get up. Peter had to walk out his cell door. Peter had to walk by with faith past each and every guard, and they do nothing. Peter had to walk out the doors of the prison itself, into the open streets, and into the rest of his life. God was doing the impossible that only God could do. But Peter had to use his faith to get up and to follow God, to use his faith to trust in God and do what God says. So what does this mean for us? Well, we're all going to be faced with things in our lives all the time. Things that seem difficult, things that seem almost impossible sometimes. And it's going to be anger things that you have. It's going to be forgiving someone. It's going to be overcoming your fears. It's going to be applying for that job or applying for college. It's going to be respecting and honoring your parents or getting through a family crisis. Life is going to throw all kinds of things that feel unbearable to us. So here's the thing. In your life, do you really believe that all things are possible with God? Do you believe that God can do anything, that he's not overwhelmed by anything our life can throw at him? But then there's our responsibility, right? Am I going to choose to trust God? Am I going to choose to exercise my faith that God can give me what I need to overcome the temptation of the sin that's happening in my life, to forgive someone who has hurt me so bad, to be able to get through a hurdle of passing a class, or like I said, applying for college or for a job? Whatever the million of things in our lives might be that feel overwhelming, all things are possible with God, and I need to exercise my faith to trust that God, to trust that who he said, that's true of who he is, that his power and his abilities are above all things on this earth, that I can put my faith and trust in Jesus Christ, that he will be the one, that all of the things he says is true, and that I can follow him with my life. You see, there's one more character in this story that I haven't talked about yet, and his name is King Herod. Now, King Herod didn't have any time for a faith in God in his life. In fact, King Herod actually thought of himself as a god. And when we try to do things our way, under our control, under our power, I'll just tell you, there's a lot of stories in this world about people who have tried to do things their way, and it doesn't turn out very well. King Herod didn't just not have a faith in God. King Herod actually thought of himself as a god, and it didn't end well for Herod. So I want to leave you with this. God is capable of impossible things. Nothing, the Bible says, is impossible with God. And so the question tonight is, are you willing to put your faith and trust in that God? Are you willing to lay down your ways and take up God's ways, as Peter did, and to see what God does when he comes through? Have a great small group tonight, you guys. Have a great discussion, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.